it go. All the stories, my mom told me this, my dad said this, and we carry it for 20 frickin' years and wonder why we're miserable. And then we see them and we project that every single time. That's all we see. My mom said this, my dad said that, rather than, oh my gosh.
Or they did this or did that, or they didn't do something they should have done. It's not limited to what they say. And the question also is, where do you lecture your mom? Where do you tell them what to do? Where do you judge them? Remember, if you do that reverse, it can bring you back to compassion.
And I couldn't imagine if I didn't have that privilege. Here's what's wonderful. If your parents are passed, you still can set yourself free, and you still can send that gift of love. So if you're feeling conflicted and you didn't have that opportunity to make it right, you still can, in your heart and in your mind, by letting go of the story and by actually seeing her accurately so you can see yourself how beautiful you are, honey. As long as you demonize her, you'll never see yourself or experience yourself. My mama, I'm just like, I speak to her and I'm like, she's such a freaking cool woman. I never thought of my mom as cool because under the identity of mom, I blocked her in that box, same as we do for all of the identities. I'm loving. We don't see where we're not loving. My mom's this. I don't see how freaking gorgeous she is. My husband's that. I don't see how amazing he is. We miss so much. And the subtle nuances of when she actually might be really trying to connect with you or reach out to you. But we shut it down so freaking quickly. Why? Because our needs aren't met. Or because we're remembering way back when, 20, 30 years ago, that she said something. I've said a lot of unconscious things in my life. I've had a lot of misses in my life. But to let them go and learn from that and see somebody so fresh, that's a really beautiful experience. Not just for her, for you. And if your mama right now called and said, honey, do you know what? I'm in the hospital and I'm on my deathbed. Would you be thinking of penalizing her? Because you know what? You said this. How dare you? No, I didn't think so. It's up to you.
That's why this week, live and love as if it was your last week and watch the whole relationship change. And if you're single, watch yourself connect with people like you never have before. Because your priorities will be totally different. And the truth is, you could die next week. Any of us could. No one knows where we're going to go. It can happen very suddenly. It can happen with a surprise. It can happen with a phone call. It can happen with a twinge in your body and you go to the doctor and you find something out. You don't want to live with regret. My pro, would you share with her the other day when your mom was calling and you were telling her how to solve it?
Oh, yeah, it was so perfect. I don't even remember the exact content, but my mom was calling about something and she was
really
having...
upset. She was crying.
Really, really upset. She was actually planning this party for my daddy. My dad's been sober for 50 years. He's in AA. And so we're creating this party and to just honor him and honor the gift of sobriety. So my mom this is classic. My mom called and she's like, oh, honey, like I just have things spinning around in my head. And she's like, I've just been overwhelmed and I can't get it. I'm just spinning, spinning, spinning. And so here I am, logical. I said, you know, Mom, sometimes it's just easy to just write it down, you know, like write it down and when you fix it, you know what I mean? It gets out of your head. So it was such a practical solution. And my mom said, she's like, honey, like, I don't want your frickin' advice. Would you just listen to me? And it was so beautiful because it goes both ways, ladies. It was the flip for me and I experienced that. And I heard my mom and she was weeping and I missed that. I had all the solutions. I had all the answers. And I missed actually holding the space for my mama. So I called her back and I said, Mom, I said, look, I'm really so sorry in that moment that I didn't hear you. And she made a joke and I made a joke and, you know, it was really beautiful. And that night I didn't just let that moment end there. I also wrote her an apology. And I said, you know what, Mom, I said, it was such a beautiful moment today. I said, you taught me so much. And I recognize where I missed that moment just being there for you. And you've always been there for me. And I'm really sorry. And she was just it just created an intimacy with my mom. It created a deeper friendship. It created a deeper love. It created my heart to open, her heart to open. And we were laughing and it was beautiful. And I learned.
And I was laughing.
Yeah.
What are your 3 steps?
Forgiveness, letting it go, and learning and understanding.
The way out of suffering is three things you can use. There's 3 ways out of suffering. First of all, you only suffer when you obsess about yourself. So this has all been about you. which you have every right to have, but it's not allowing you to have a relationship with your mother, and I understand all the reasons why, but you can correct it now. The way out of suffering is you stop focusing on yourself, and you focus, number one, on something you can appreciate. You may not be able to go from suffering to enjoyment, too big a jump in too short time, but you can always go from suffering, angry, sad, worried, whatever, to appreciating. And if you find things to appreciate about your mother that are sincere, that'll take you out of the story. The next piece they'll do it is learning, as you just said, learning or growing. If you can learn or grow from it, by the way, if you can appreciate, enjoyment will show up. The minute you start to appreciate, enjoyment becomes possible. Enjoyment usually follows appreciation. Too big a jump to what do I enjoy when you're pissed or scared or worried, right? So what do? We appreciate and then enjoy, we learn and grow, and then it's love. And love is an act. Love is action. When you say I love, think about it. The word love is used in our culture in so many different ways. You can love your dog, you can love your sister, your brother, you can love your husband or your wife. I hope you don't love your dog the same way you love your wife, I hope. But we use the word love as if it's the exact same thing. It's not the same thing, right? So you need to think about love as an action. What could I do to express love in a way that that person would experience it or enjoy it or appreciate it? And when we do all these things, it gets us out of ourselves. And when you're out of yourself, there's no suffering. And when you're out of yourself and you've done something beautiful, you'll actually love yourself more. The way to love yourself is to love those around you, because as you pour love into them, you're feeling that love inside, and therefore you are loving. The power of love is you loving. Because can someone else love you and you not feel it? Is that possible? Yes or no? Can the mind get in the way of you feeling the love? Yes or no? Of course it can. And does your mom love you?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you love your mom?
Absolutely.
Then all the other stuff is, it's all stories. It's both you suffering and two suffering people getting together and basically crying for help, and you responded to her cry for help with a cry for help, and she responded to your cry for help with a cry for help, and it looks like this.
The Tony Robbins Podcast is directed and hosted by Tony Robbins. Anna York is our editorial director and occasional host. Our executive producer is Carrie Song. Jamie Carvajal and Adriel De La Torre are our digital editors. Special thanks to Mary Buckheit and Diane Adcock for their creative review.